We have seen RDTE fall quite significantly, and so today we're doing a full video on making $100 every single week from RDTE with its weekly dividends. This is part of a series I used to do a lot more often. I'm going to start doing it again because I think it is really, really cool to start making that much money every single week, and these weekly payers make it pretty simple to do. Plus, we have new weekly payers coming out, so it's a good series to continue, and I hope you guys enjoy. We're going to cover a lot of things, but before we go into all the details, remember, there's a lot of factors that go into these. This is not financial advice. We're going to cover the dividend history. We're going to go into a drip calculator that had some pretty surprising results. And after that, we'll move straight into our calculation and see how much money you actually have to have invested to net $100 every single week from the distributions, which is amazing. As always, thank you guys so much for the support and for clicking on this video. If you would like this content, if you like stocks, dividends, investing, you're in the right spot. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Shows me that you like this type of content, and it helps me move more videos out in the future. I might be upping my videos. There's so much content to do, and I'm really excited for 2025's stock market, for the dividends, for everything that we are going to see. So all that being said, let's roll the intro. If you have been on my channel before, you have probably seen the Roundhill ETFs page. We are back on RDTE's page. We can see an insane 75% distribution rate. I will double check this, and we'll kind of see how close they are. This is probably just based off of the last distribution, not all the distributions divided in and giving the average, but still not terrible. We know the zero DTE strategy. We've seen all of this before. I'm not going to rehash all of that. If you're looking for details on that, I have some other videos that explain that a little bit better, but I'm not going to repeat myself too many times. We know the fund of RDTE, what they're looking to do. They want weekly distributions, and they want income potential, which is a really important factor. Personally, the way I invest, I don't like NAV erosion. Yes, we see it. We've seen it with a lot of the yieldmax funds. We've seen it with a lot of the Roundhill funds, but I don't like it. I like having my income be my income, but I want my underlying investment to stay the same. I want the income to go up, of course, through the distributions. But I don't know. I really struggle with, even if I make 50% on a fund and the NAV erosion's 30%, it really bothers me. I don't know if it's like the old style investor of how I first started investing that it bothers me, but it's just not my favorite, and it's a lot of work to track. And so RDTE, they also want to harness the volatility with those 0 days till expiration options on the small cap index, which I think is phenomenal because I've listed this before. Because it is the Russell 2000, it's a smaller cap index. It's not SPY or the NASDAQ. I think it will have higher volatility, which should lead to higher distributions. And we see that already with a 74.5% distribution rate. Rather than, I think xdte is somewhere in the high 30s, low 40s, and QDTE is slightly higher. Typically, that's what I've been tracking. We have an AUM of 173 million and an higher expense ratio of 0.95%. It's almost 1 full percent, which is insane. We used to think that like 0.3 was high, and now 0.9 is like, But they have to write these calls. You have to have someone doing it. It takes more work than the typical ETF. So not a complaint. I'm not happy about it, but I do understand it. So you can go through, check out all their stuff. I will pull up the dividend history as well because I always like to look at the dividend history before I do these calculations to see the true distribution. And they do have their distribution calendar. You can see on the 7th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 19th is when they're paying and what they have paid out. So distribution-wise, the last couple of payments have been pretty solid. The last one that we saw on the 31st was a pretty big payment, and that's probably why the distribution rate is so much higher. But always check into these, check into the website, look at everything before you end up buying. Of course, this is not financial advice. This is entertainment and education, but I do like this one quite a bit, and I do hold it in my normal Roth IRA, where I have drip turned on. So we will see. And I put my money where my mouth is on this one. I own it. I do like it. You guys know that I liked it based off of all the videos I've made on these. And I will continue to make more videos. I have a lot of stuff coming out. I'm debating doing some extra videos this week if you guys would like. I'm trying to continue all the different series on the channel, but it's kind of getting to be a lot. But I am still enjoying it, of course, and you guys have been so supportive. So let's jump over and check out the distribution history. We are back on Seeking Alpha. I always use this to double check stuff. I like that the Roundhill has it on their website, but I just feel a little better with like a third party. So we can see their last distribution, which was on 1/1, the first of 2025 was massive. And I don't know why, because we've seen some crazy ones paid out from QDTE and xdte, and we have some really intelligent people that are part of our community here, and they pointed out in the comments that it's likely due to tax harvesting. They're paying stuff out, they're figuring everything out that is going to help them benefit the most coming tax season. And that makes a lot of sense. I always forget tax season, and I never pay attention to it much, to be honest. And I really should pay attention more. I'm going to have to do a lot more this year between a small business, YouTube, all this kind of stuff, as well as my normal 9 to 5. It's been a busy year. So we can see a huge distribution paid out. I'm loving it. It's going to be great for our upcoming video, which should drop on Tuesday on the update on the weekly dividend ETF account. But still, we need to check and make sure that this is paying out what they're saying it's paying out. So I took the total dividends paid out so far for one share, which would be $5.01. I divided by 15 because we've seen 15 total payments so far, and that gives us 0.334, which is 33.4 cents. We're going to multiply this number by 52. There's roughly more than 52 weeks in a year, a little bit like 52 and a half, but still, that gives us 1737. So we're going to take that number, we're going to take 1737, and we're going to divide it by the current share price of 41.41. And then we're going to multiply this by 100 to get our percentage. So it's not a 74% returner. It's returning roughly 42%. And that is insane. Now, what's important too, though, is I'm going to be using this number, not their most recent payment, because that's what happens. If you ever see it on the website and you say, why is it so high on the website? It's really only 42%. It's not an average on the website. It's based off of their most recent distribution, which I don't like that as much, but that's why I run these numbers myself and figure it out. So we'll do 42% flat for our calculation for getting $100 every single week from RDTE. But let's check the drip calculator, because the history of this one is interesting. It hasn't been around that long, but the return is not bad by any means. I love how simple the drip calculator is. We are on dividendchannel.com. We have RDTE invested 10K. So with dividends reinvested, your total return is 9.90%. Now remember, it's only been 15 weeks, so it's been about 4 months, a little bit over 4 months, which is really, really solid. You're talking about what? Just under a 40% return on the year at that rate. They have an annualized gain of 31.44%. The price has dipped significantly, so we have seen our return lose about $500 with dividends reinvested. With dividends not reinvested, you're at 9.88. We haven't had a lot of trading history, so the dividends reinvested at this point don't make that much of a difference, where over a 10 to 20 year period, it would make a much bigger difference. But I'm happy with this. I think people are upset that it's dropping, and I understand why. I'm not out by any means. People might even look at this as a chance to buy more at a lower price. I'm holding what I have now. I'm letting it drip, so it's going to dollar cost average for me automatically. So when it drops, I simply buy more at the low with the dividends being reinvested. And with these huge dividends coming in, I'm buying more at a pretty decent rate. So if you want to see all the details on the weekly payers, it's so cool, and I'm really enjoying the full series I'm doing on it. I'll link it at the end. But all in all, no complaints. It's fun to watch, it's fun to see it, and I've made some money, which I'm happy about. Now let's go into our calculation and figure out how much money you need for $100 in your pocket every single week from RDTE by Roundhill. I've got everything already plugged in, and I'm always so excited to see how much money it takes for these, because in my opinion, these new ETFs, they have so much potential. And so plugging everything in, we have weekly distributions. That's a key thing. RDTE is plugged in. Drip is not on because we're not putting the money back in. This is $100 for us to spend every week on whatever we want. Legos, car parts, home improvements, which is where all my money seems to be going recently. So we're factoring all this in. I have zero annual contribution, zero tax rate, because I'm assuming we're investing in a Roth. And then we have our initial yield of 42%, which I calculated. That's lower than they had on their website, but I calculated it out, so I'm going to move forward with that one. So with one share, we end up with $41.41 total. That's the current price, and an annual dividend of $21.51, which is solid. You get $21 for just holding it for a full year at $41 a share. Now, we're not going to increase the years invested. We're going to increase the number of shares invested, and we need our annual dividend income to reach $5,200. So we'll bump it up. 10 shares. 10 shares gets you $414 worth, and your annual dividend income moves all the way up to $215, which is great. I mean, I like holding these just for like a little bit of time just to see what happens. When we add in 50 shares, That's going to put our total, what, $2,000? Yep, $2,000 and $2,070. And now our annual dividend income is $1,075. So we can factor in, we're going to multiply this probably by 5. And that's probably going to get us where we need to be to get that $5,200 every single month. So 50 times 5 is 250. And let's see what this kicks out. Yes, this kicks out an ending balance of $10,352. That's how much you have to invest, and it will pay you $100 every single week with drip off. That is money you pull out, you put it into your pocket, you can invest it in whatever you want to, you can move it around, you can spend it, you can do whatever you want to. Your annual dividend income, $5,377. So our math is even a little bit off. You should have, what, roughly extra. If we do 5377.05, we're going to divide this by 52. You're going to have $103.40. You can get yourself a nice haircut. You can take a lady to a nice dinner, perhaps. You can do whatever you want with that $103. And it's just crazy because I like to jump this up a little more even. So let's say you're more of a seasoned investor. Let's say you have a lot of money that you're wanting to invest and you want to buy 2,500 shares of RDTE. Well, we're just adding a zero to everything, basically. That gets you an investment of $103,000 and your annual dividend income of $54,000. Now, if you're paying taxes on that, it's going to be cut by like $15,000 to $20,000, unfortunately, because taxes are terrible. But it's crazy. You are now making what's the average annual income? I have a full series on matching the average annual income with these funds. They're called Retire on Dividends. And it is actually wild how you could retire on a low amount of money. That's kind of like what the FIRE movement is all about. So all in all, super interesting. Roundhill has been doing really well with these funds, and I hope they keep putting out more and more and more. And you know, if they are, you will find it on this channel. So don't forget, like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you for being here. Stay tuned for extra video uploads this week because I am bored and I want to put out more content. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video.